Alright, we are done setting up the hammock and the tarp and most of the gear. I am pretty worn out after doing that just because it's like 90 degrees out right now. But I don't know if you guys can see, but my glasses are soaked. But this is the crazy part right here. Look at all this pollen. Isn't that wild? My shoes are green. I wonder if I look green right now. Well, most of my camera is covered by pollen, so as you guys can see, it's not all fun and games out here. There are some worries, so it's not all about just, oh, we're having fun looking for Bigfoot. It's a pain in the ass being out here. Like, it's rough on all my gear and myself. And all the pollen out here is wild. But the reason I'm staying out here regardless of all the pollen is the fact that I feel like the Sasquatch are out right now. And I think it's worth staying out and seeing what we can find. Alright, so I brought that same camera I had last time, and I'm going to set it on video mode. And I brought a different camera that's supposed to be a little bit better. It's the same name brand, but we're going to set those up in front of the gifting basket, and we're going to see what we can capture. So here's what I brought to put inside the gifting basket. I have this turkey feather. This was possibly gifted to me from a different Sasquatch group in a completely different area. And it's an area where I have filmed some big X structures and all kinds of stuff. I've had activity there as well, but I found this and a piece of, I think it's iron ore or whatever they call it. It's just a heavy rock, but I mean, if you split it open, it's chrome, and it's just, it's extremely heavy and it's noticeable. But basically, in front of the structure area, I saw this feather laying there in a food plot, and I thought, okay, that's normal, you know, a turkey feather in a food plot. But that rock was right next to there, so I picked up the feather, checked it out, and I picked up the rock to throw it out of the food plot, but it was extremely heavy. But anyways, yeah, I don't know if this came from a Sasquatch, because they know I've been coming to that area and they put it exactly where I'd been walking at. We have some snack sticks, we have some sardines and hot sauce, just because I think this will put out a scent that will bring in some wildlife as far as predators. But yeah, we have some golf balls, and these golf balls were from an area that's pretty close to here. I found it in the deepest part of that property, up on a hill, on the thickest stuff you could go through. The strange part about these golf balls is the only area that you find golf balls is around here, just because nearby there's a golf course, and I think these golf balls will get in those drainages and then get down into the creeks, obviously when it floods, and they end up here on this property. So when I found it on that other property nearby, I thought that was strange, especially far up on a hill, isolated away from people. We have a marble. I've heard a lot of stories where Sasquatch gift marbles to people. I don't know how they would get them. Maybe they take them from other people because, I don't know, people have claimed that they have items missing from their property. And it could be that the Sasquatch take the marbles from property A, and then property C that's having activity as well ends up with the marble. But as far as the paranormal stuff that's happening, I don't know. Alright, so we also have this, I think it's called crystal quartz. We have like a bluish turquoise rock, and it's, I don't know, it's like blue and brown, but anyways, it's really smooth. It's like glass. And this maroon rock, they're all super smooth, and I hear Sasquatch like certain smooth rocks, and I heard that crystal quartz carries energy. I don't know if that's true. Maybe I can check that with my EMF detector later. And of course we have an apple, a Tootsie Roll, because I heard from other researchers and people that have gifted to these creatures in the past that they like chocolate. So we'll have to try that out. Some suckers, I've had good luck with suckers, and it's pretty weird because they take the wrapper off and eat the candy and leave the stick. The stick's like chewed up, but I don't know, I feel like all this should be shredded up, kind of like the banana in the last video. I feel like it should all be torn apart if it was just some little critter, but who knows. Some bananas, of course, and I got these little, I don't know, magnetic triangles. I think the Sasquatch would like it, just because, I don't know, if there are juveniles around here, then that means they'd like to play. What I've noticed from the structures is that they like geometry and they like certain colors. I heard they like blue, but yeah, if we put this up in a triangle, maybe we come back and it's going to be like in a different pattern. Maybe I should set it like this in some type of triangle, and like if I come back it's like that. That could be interesting. Who knows? If anything, they'd appreciate it. Maybe not. But yeah, we want to set all this stuff up. I want to be able to set up these game cameras at an angle that's going to be able to capture whatever comes in and takes the food and the items. So let's set this gear up and see what we can capture. All right. Coming up to the gifting basket, and we're gonna try to find a good tree to set this up on, and I'm gonna use the viewfinder to see what works best. All right, so this is going to be a good tree. If we can have the camera aimed down slightly, we can get a good shot. All right, so here's what we are going to do. Let's put some bananas in the gifting basket right there. Peel off any of the paper so it doesn't kill any animals. All right, so we had to kind of cut into the banana a little bit just because that sticker wasn't going to come off. So if you guys see that later, it was me. All right, so let's put this Tootsie Roll in here. The golf balls. Here's a marble, a rock, that crystal, some suckers, and let's put this apple right here in this corner. Let's stack these up like this. See what happens. And we'll put this feather. I don't want to tear up the feather. Okay, so we basically have the gift basket loaded up with all the different items and the food. We're gonna add the peanut butter in there after I take off the seal and tighten the lid on as tight as possible. And put that rock in there. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to put it in the gift basket as well. I think that would be a good idea just because the scent will get out in the air and everything around is going to be able to smell it, including the Sasquatch. So I think they'll come in due to the fact that I put a lot of items in there that would make them curious, and I feel like they could be watching me right now. If they're around, they're most likely watching. But we're not going to pay any attention to that. We're going to act like we don't know they're around, even though we do. They know that I know, but oh, there's some cinnamon. So they didn't like the cinnamon last time. Okay, fair enough. We'll toss that out there. And yeah, let's set up the game cams. that's somebody else. It sounds like metal. I'm gonna go check it out. That sounds like metal. I'm gonna go see what it is. I'm gonna keep the camera rolling. It started again. What the heck? I went and checked it out and there's nothing there. And when I came back, it started again. That sounds like metal. What the heck? I'm gonna go check that out again. I decided to come back because I didn't see anything and I didn't want to scare whatever it was. I'm gonna go see what the heck this thing is. I'm bringing this camera though. Let's go. Okay, so this is about the area that I was hearing that banging sound. I don't know what that was. It kind of sounded like somebody was hitting a rock with a shovel. I don't understand what the heck that was. It sounded so close, and it seemed to happen whenever I set up the trail camera on the gift basket. And once again, when I went to investigate the sound, it just stopped. There's no one here, nothing. But it did sound metallic. Like, it didn't sound like wood on wood, it sounded like metal. Like a metal, I don't know, something banging on metal in a way. But there's no one around, there's just people like mowing grass. So we'll just have to keep our eyes peeled because you never know. Okay, so that was kind of strange. Whenever I was trying to set up this trail camera on the gifting site, it seemed like something was knocking just right there, not even like 50, 60 yards away, and kind of sounded metallic. At first it sounded like knocks, but then it just sounded strange. But the weird part is it happened whenever I was setting up the trail camera on the food. It almost seemed like something was trying to lure me away from the gifting site. I can't say for sure that it's Bigfoot, but it was strange nonetheless. Okay, so let's take this off so you guys can witness this. Alright, that's about as tight as I can get it without ripping my hand off. So this is kind of what I did before with previous gifting sessions, is I would tighten on the lid as tight as possible, and somehow the lids would be tossed, taken off, peanut butter's gone. I'll find the jar with minimal scratch marks and bite marks on there. Yeah, it's strange for something to leave the lids at the gifting site. But I already know what's doing it. I want to document the things that I have experienced out here, and it seems like not much to a lot of other people, but to me it's pretty significant, just because I know for a fact that the Sasquatch are out here utilizing the forest and traveling from one area to another, and I just happen to be in between that. But yeah, let's open up this stinky can of sardine. Alright, so we're officially set up with all the food and the gifting items, and we have one trail camera set up on the gifting basket. We'll try to get another one set up at a different angle to see what we can capture, but I anticipate there to be some strange activity happening tonight, and I look forward to it. Okay, so here's one camera that I set up on the gifting site. Here's the second one. Yeah, so it's miserable out here. It's like 90 degrees. It's humid. There's pollen everywhere. There's ticks all over the place and mosquitoes. It's pretty annoying, but yeah, I have these cameras set up on the gifting site, and it's a collection of stuff that basically works. We have the peanut butter, the apples, suckers, and gifting items that I've heard from other people that work and things that I've had experiences with as well. So things are starting to wind down. All the people with lawnmowers around have finished, thank God, and we are going to settle down for a little bit. I'm going to relax for a few and let it get a little bit later. But yeah, I'm excited to run this night vision gear once again, and hopefully we can get some better shots, some more action, and hopefully some more answers for you guys. Alright, so I was just here minding my own business, and I heard a knock, a definite knock, from that direction behind all the green stuff, all the thick green stuff. And right before that I could hear something. It sounded like something came up and stopped right behind that. But a few minutes later, about I don't know how far, but it was further back, I heard knock. And it was a clear knock, and it echoed through the woods. Oh, there it is again. There it is. Another one. Oh, that squirrel's freaking out. I wonder why that squirrel's freaking out. I don't know what's wrong with this camera. So basically I was talking about the knock that just happened, and I just experienced another knock, and something happened over there. I'm not really sure. I wasn't looking that way. I was looking over there, but this squirrel freaked out and like jumped out of this tree and has been barking at something ever since. And squirrels will typically do that when they see danger. Oh, I hear something. I hear something. Right over there. Yeah, that was strange. I heard some knocking happening over there, and it sounded like something was walking up to my camp, so they could be around again, who knows? That's the goal anyways. I hope they're around. A cat got into the sardines earlier and ate all the sardines, so maybe that's what's been coming up all along. I don't know. But I want to see what happens with all this food in there, and hopefully we can get something good. Alright, I got a fire rolling, and I feel like fires attract Sasquatch. I don't know what their fascination is with it, but they do come in. People have speculated maybe because they care for the forest, and when people start fires, they come in and check it out, or possibly it's just the smell from the fire and the fact that people aren't typically out there doing that type of activity, and it draws them in. Alright, so the sun's getting ready to go down, and I'm not gonna lie, people, it's miserable out here. It's really hot and humid, and it's nasty out here with all the pollen. But I brought some deer meat, and I'm gonna cook it up in the fire, and it has some onions, mushrooms, jalapenos, and people were talking about that in the comments, that I need to get some bacon out here or cook some food to draw in the Sasquatch. And I agree, because if they're curious about things, then they're certainly going to come in, especially if you got food cooking. But yeah, I did hear some knocks right past that thick green stuff towards the creek bottom, and they were strange. They didn't come from any of the properties. There's a property that way and way off that way, and obviously straight behind me. So basically there's people all around, but I know that the direction that the knocks came from, there's no houses. And I was hearing some strange banging sounds. I thought it was knocking, but it sounded like a shovel, like somebody was shoveling in the dirt and hitting rocks. But it's hard to say. It sounded like it was pretty close, but every time I'd walk away from the camera, the knocking would cease. And that happened twice. And the weird part was that it started right when I set up the camera on the food. So I feel like they're possibly drawing me away from the gifting basket. I don't know, it's hard to say. We'll know for sure whenever it gets dark and everybody else is asleep. So just because of all these background noises, it's hard to tell if you're actually getting knocks or if it's just some neighbor. When I go to my hunting spots around here, I'm really deep out in the woods, and you can't even hear people pulling up to the house. You can't hear any roads. Once you get engulfed by the forest, all the other sounds seem to disappear. But the best thing we can do is just keep an eye out, keep our ears open, and pay attention, because these things are sneaky, and they can get really close, and you'll have no idea that they're there. Alright, we have some deer meat and some mushrooms. It's in oil, has butter, garlic, some seasoning in there, and we're gonna cook it up. Oh man, I think a bird definitely crapped on my hat earlier. But that's the price to pay when you're out here. It's not that bad, honestly. I love it. It's kind of rough as far as like the humidity, like I mentioned before, and all the bugs. That really sucks, but you get over it, you get used to it. It's just the fact that summer is just, or the end of spring is here, and I'm just now getting used to the heat, rolling out of winter. But yeah, I wanted to talk about some of the strange gifting activity that I have experienced in the past, and kind of what opened up my mind to the entire subject and gifting as a whole. Because I'll be honest, just like a lot of other people, I thought the whole gifting thing was just rubbish. I mean, the whole idea of some intelligent being out in the forest leaving you little gifts did not make sense, because why would something so intelligent that hides from people be leaving you gifts, like some type of cat or something, but I experienced some really weird activity when these creatures showed up to the property. It started off with just weird knocks and me finding little tree structures and strange things around the property. I was looking on the property for mushrooms, and I was mainly looking for chanterelles and chicken of the woods. And I would come across these other mushrooms that I didn't really know what they were, and I didn't really want to mess with them. So I had bought this book, and it's actually the book sitting right up on that little storage deal right there. It's a Missouri mushroom book, and you're able to identify different types of mushrooms that grow out in the forest. That way you can tell apart the poisonous ones from the edible ones, etc. Well, I had been in this area because I was getting activity and there was a ton of wild edible mushrooms growing. So I found a certain type of mushroom, and I didn't know what it was. So I was kind of iffy about taking it, and I inspected it pretty well, but I still wasn't sure if I should even take it or put it in my basket along with all the other mushrooms that I already had. So I picked them and I left them right in the middle of the road, and it's kind of like an old logging road. I put the mushrooms right in the middle of the road, and I was gonna come back. I just needed to look in that book to identify what the heck I was messing with. So I ran back to the house, looked through the book, and I was able to find out that the mushroom that I had picked wasn't no good, and it didn't pass the test. So I ran right back up to the spot where I was at. It was probably like 5 or 10 minutes. When I had got back to that part of the trail where I had left the mushroom in the center of the road, the mushrooms were gone. And in its place was a set of keys. And I mean, it was a big keychain with a lot of keys. And it had a white tag that was somewhere from Oklahoma, some type of RV camper place in Oklahoma. But I thought that was strange just because I was in that spot all day long, and I went to the house for just 5 minutes, and when I got back, the mushrooms were gone and there was a set of keys right there. So I just thought that was weird, and I didn't really know what to make of it. But I would find feathers in the middle of the road on my chair, and it'd always be like these little blue, black and white feathers. I didn't really think much of that either. But then I started finding wild mushrooms just sitting in the chair, like this chair right here, but it's in a different spot on the property, the exact area where I'd actually seen the creatures. I have a chair there as well, and I'd find mushrooms and stuff just sitting on top of the chair. And then I started learning about gifting, and I really started to understand that these creatures had a different side of them that people didn't really understand. They seemed to be really shy, elusive, but at the same time, they crave some type of interaction with human beings, and maybe they see us as one of their own. I've heard Native Americans, where people say that the natives would call them Big Brother. It's hard to say, but they do seem to have some type of interest with people and watching everything they do. Whether that's a good thing, I don't know, because you do hear stories where Sasquatches save people, but then you hear stories where people go missing. So it's hard to say. I did want to clear up this one part in the video where a lot of people were seeing eye shine, and I was actually looking in that direction, but way off past this holler, down past this creek on the other side of this giant ridge, there's another house over there, and I think we were seeing their light from their yard. I think that's what it was. I can't say for sure, but I do remember looking in the viewfinder and seeing that light glowing behind the skinnier tree, And I remember thinking, okay, that's probably that house, and that's why I didn't stop on it. But I know a lot of people commented on it, and they're pretty shooken up by it, but I think it was just another person's property. But at the same time, that's where I was hearing all the noises, so it's hard to say. Right when it got dark, something crashed through the woods right there, and something broke a limb. It wasn't like threatening. It was pretty subtle, but it was something big. It was weird. Like, you could hear like two different whatever creatures coming up, one behind that thick green stuff, and then another one straight ahead in front of these structures. And that's where I heard the break at, which is pretty cool. I was actually going to go back and cool down and try to rest, but right before I packed up all my stuff, I heard that. I heard something come up and crash through the woods. There's that black cat that follows me around everywhere, but that's an example of what eye shine is going to look like out here with this camera, and the quality of what we're going to be able to see. Right now my autofocus settings are out of whack, but I'm working around it and trying to make it the best I can. Alright, I don't know if this is going to be a good idea or not, but let's try one wood knock. It might be stupid, it might scare them off, we don't know. But I feel like one subtle one might be enough to get them to come in. One more. Hoping to capture a Sasquatch in this type of detail. I think it's possible. Hey kitty. What are you doing? Why are you getting into my stuff? Oh, did you slip? You're clumsy. Yeah. Are you mad because I never named you? I named you Black Cat. What, buddy? Somebody made the point that maybe the Sasquatch didn't take the apple because I left it on my chair. And that makes sense to me, because I do see that they are polite and they do like to share. A lot of times when I gift, they'll leave half the gifts, which is strange. One time I gifted them rainbow trout, and they left one for me, which was odd. Another time they brought the gifting basket like to the edge of the yard and flipped it over, which I thought that was odd as well. I do think they like to share, and they probably didn't take the apple because it was on my chair. It could be very possible, and this group out here is extremely kind like that, and they're not very aggressive, so I think it's pretty cool. Well, I know one thing for a fact. The scent definitely got in the air as far as the sardines and the deer meat, just because 20 minutes after I put the sardines out, a cat showed up and ate them, and the other black cat that showed up to camp, he was snooping around and looking for food, of course, So if a cat's able to do that, I think Sasquatch can too. Just because, I don't know, their senses are a lot stronger than ours, and they can smell things at much further distances. But even as a human, you can smell a campfire from a pretty good distance, especially when people are cooking food. Oh, cool. There's some lightning bugs out tonight. Very cool. Very cool. Alright. So this is the area where I'd seen the adult Sasquatch. It got up right here and walked away into the deeper forest. But it gives me chills coming here at nighttime. Just definitely heard a noise right there. I don't know what that was. Maybe the cats are following me. It freaks me out walking up here just because I'd seen them here, and for some reason whenever I come here at night it just freaks me out. I don't feel good about it, but we'll see what happens. We're gonna walk into the deep woods here, down this trail that goes all the way down into this creek bottom, and we're gonna see if maybe we can have something happen. Hopefully we don't step on a copperhead. I'm kind of worried about that, but we'll see. Hopefully we won't see, but you guys know what I mean. Alright, we're in Sasquatch territory now. Man, it freaks me out being out here. I definitely feel like I'm being watched. I cannot help myself from that feeling. There's something following me. So yeah, right now I'm pretty terrified. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm pretty terrified just because I know they're here. I know they're around, but I'm not gonna sit back and say that they're friendly by any means. I think this is extremely dangerous just because, well, it's the forest. You guys know. Even if Sasquatches didn't exist, the forest would be a dangerous place, or is a dangerous place. But just the fact that I know the Sasquatch are in here, that really spooks me. Like, it's really hard for me to pull out the camera when activity is happening and just put a smile on and explain, oh, you know, this is what's going on, just because when the activity happens, you don't know what to make of it. You don't know how to react. Your brain is trying to find a place to put it, and it's hard to grab the camera and record and play the game that this is supposed to be something normal, and it's not normal at all. So being out here, I don't do a good job at talking or producing film just because my nerves are so shot that I can't do a good job. I can't perform the way I should. But hopefully it turns out good. I don't know. We'll throw it up no matter what. I know for a fact something's over there. I just heard something big move. Yeah, it would definitely be cool if I had somebody out here with me, for sure. But who wants to be out here doing what I'm doing? Not very many people. Sounded like a regular owl. Alright. Keep your cool, Miguel. Everything's up. Let's just pray that's a regular owl. And I'll admit, my nerves are pretty shot. So got a weird vibe here. Uh-oh. We are in their territory, so we'll go a little further. I don't want to go much further into the woods right now. Alright, yeah, let's get out of here. This is not a good place to be right now. Especially at nighttime. We need to get out of here. I know I'm just spooked, but something tells me not to be here right now. So whether that's just my mind, my gut telling me, I'm going to follow that and obey that order. It's probably just fear speaking to me, but this is their area, and I'm gonna have to respect that. So people have mentioned that it's possible that Sasquatch can follow you home, and they can follow you to different areas. And I'll admit that when I had my encounters, I thought that to myself, and I didn't tell anybody just because it was one of those theories that you think in your head and you're like, no, that can't be. But when you start hearing a lot of people say the same things, that they feel like these things followed them home, you have to wonder to yourself, and you have to share that kind of stuff, because that's significant to researchers. And I think it's possible that these creatures are smart enough that they can follow you long distances. And animals always surprise people, so I think the Sasquatch are just as elite, if not more elite, than any other animal out there on this planet. Alright, I'm standing in the spot where I had my Bigfoot encounter. And basically I was walking back to my property. There's a house over there. And I was almost back to my house, and I looked over and everything seemed pretty normal. All of a sudden this black shape stood up, and it was a massive Sasquatch. And it just walked into the woods nonchalantly. It looked over at me a couple times, similar to the Patterson Gimlin film. But it had a round head, and it had almond-shaped eyes that were jet black. The Sasquatch was jet black. His fur wasn't very long. It did look like his head was coming out of its chest. The strange part was that I couldn't hear him walk. What did alert me to look over that way again, I heard like the smallest stick being snapped, and it kind of just sounded like a squirrel or a bird. But I just happened to look over and he got up. But when he walked away, I couldn't hear him at all. He was completely silent. Like when a person walks through these leaves, it's all crunchy and you can definitely hear it. But when this thing got up, he was silent. And the crazy part was, I mean, the whole thing's crazy, but he looked like a log or some type of stump, just because there's some black looking trees out here, and he blended in very well. But when he was crouched down looking away from me, he blended in so well. And I guess I spooked him, and he got up like he thought he could hide. And I guess he thought I saw him, which I didn't. I never saw him until he got up and walked away. But I guess he was right there. Maybe he was like in a crouching position, ducking away and trying to like pretend like he wasn't there. But in his paranoid mind, he thought that I saw him. But I don't know. It was really hard to process it, even though I saw it at such a close distance. I mean, he was right there. And then he started to fade off, and boom, he's gone. So I took off running, and I ran back to the house. And before I got into the yard, I didn't run back to the house, but I ran and I made a left towards the yard, and I went back into the woods in the direction that this thing was going. I went that way, he was going that way, and we met up, but he was already down almost to the creek bottom. And when I stepped into the woods, he let me know I could hear him. It sounded like a horse was standing right at the edge of the woods, but you couldn't see what it was, and you could hear this thing breathing, just and I knew that what I had seen was real. It wasn't some type of paranormal entity or a person in a suit, that this was a real creature in these woods. And it freaked me out. It really did. I mean, I thought it was cool at the time and exciting just because I knew the truth. It was awesome. But now it's just like, what do I do with this information, and how do I keep going forward? How do I help people understand that these things are out there? Alright, so I didn't end up camping out here last night just because of all the pollen, and it was so hot and humid that it wouldn't have been worth it. My lungs couldn't handle it. I don't think most people would have been able to stay out here for more than 30 minutes with all of that pollen, so I think I stayed out here for a pretty good amount of time. I just needed some rest, and I wanted to be able to leave the gifting site for a little bit and see what happened. But from what I can see right now, it looks like something definitely got in there. I can't say if it was Sasquatch, but I do have 2 trail cameras set up on the gifting basket, so we'll see what we can get, guys. All right, let's go see the damage. There's one camera. There's camera number 2. But it looks like something flipped over the basket. I know the cats were pretty curious of what was going on there, and they got into the sardines and whatever else. It looks like some type of small critter got in here just because of the way it's flipped over. But there is a banana missing. Not what I expected. I don't think it was Sasquatch. We're gonna find out for sure on the trail camera. I think since all the food is still there, something else came here instead of what's originally been coming to the area, but it's hard to say. Not having very good luck out here recording. It seems like everything's against me. It took forever to set up the camp, and it seemed like each thing I was trying to do just took hours, a lot longer than what it should have. And I had a lot of people trying to contact me out here. I think it was just random timing. I've been waiting to hear from them, and it seems like 3 different people decided they wanted to talk the night that I was trying to do an investigation. But that's not the problem. It's really hard out here, like I said, because of all the pollen. But the main reason is this camera is working against me. It seems like all night I was having issues with the focus settings. I could not get this camera dialed in. No matter what settings I switched and what I would try, it seemed like nothing was working. The last time I used the camera on the last video, everything worked out pretty good and it looked decent. So I was thinking, okay, it's only going to get better from here. But that wasn't the case. It seems like I was fighting this camera the whole night. This Sony camera was just really hard to use and just difficult to operate while recording and trying to flow. But I have other cameras. I just want to be able to use this camera and figure it out for the channel. That way I don't end up somewhere that's really far away, or I have some important investigation to document and this camera fails on me. I want to make sure I know this camera in and out, so that way we're good to go on every video from here on out. But yeah, I'm going to pack up my stuff and I'm going to go inside and recharge the batteries and just rethink things through, try to figure out this camera and come up with the game plan for the next time I come out here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry it was so short, but that's how it goes sometimes. Thanks. So the trail cameras failed. The camera I'm messing with there did not capture one single video. The only camera that managed to record, which is the one we are seeing now, only captured video footage of myself, despite the fact that the basket was moved. There was a banana and an apple missing from the gifting basket. Off camera days later, I adjusted the cameras and placed the food back in the basket and only captured footage of myself once again. Now either people are putting too much faith into a little piece of plastic sold at Walmart, or there is actually something strange going on out here and more than meets the eye. It's not always about the evidence a person provides, but the fight he puts forth towards the struggle to do so. If you guys enjoy these types of videos, then please like and subscribe. Thanks everyone.